Okay, so we're going to talk about a video that I had seen that was made by a guy called Mulatto Mindset. And the name of the video that he made is called The Dark Side of the Mulatto, or The Dark Side of Iberian Mulatto. And we're going to talk about part one, okay? Because I think he has made a part two, so I have to watch that one still yet. So I watched the video, and I first off, I want to say to Mulatto Mindset, thank you so much for having our back as Northwestern European mulattoes. And it's great to know that you are Nigerian and German. That's really nice to know. I am Nigerian and Northwestern European, and so I'm not like half and half, but I'm like 25% Nigerian, and then with other African countries, but Nigerian being the most. And then I'm about 25% Northwestern European, okay, with other countries of Northwest Europe as follow-ups. Okay, so roughly I'm about, when it's all said and done, I'm about 50%, 55% range of African, and then 45% range of non-black. Okay, mostly Northern Western European, and so we are kind of on the same, racial lines here. And so thank you so much for having our back. I did watch a video with this guy, I guess Iberian Mulatto, I guess. I'm not sure if that's his nickname or not, but that's what we'll call him. And that's what I'll refer to him as. And so I understand that he's trying to basically cause a separation between Northwestern mulattoes, or mulattoes of Northwestern descent, and mulattoes of Spanish descent, mostly descending from the Dominican Republic or Puerto Rico or Panama, those type, I was under the impression that he was Mexican and black, so I'm a little confused. But because I don't remember when I watched his video that he did with Ricardo, and he was down talking black men as fathers of children, as fatherless, for being fatherless to their children. I don't recall him saying what nation he was from, so I was under the assumption that he was a what do they call them? Half Mexican and half black. We'll just say that. I was under that impression that he was one of those. And so if you can let me know exactly what nation he was from, it would be greatly appreciated. Now, if this is the guy that did the interview with Ricardo, you know, I'm a little confused because to me, he looks 100% black. I noticed that he will not remove that cap off of his head, and so that tells me that he's trying to cover his hair. So he's, you know, I did watch that that video that he did, and he just kind of strikes me off as someone who's not very intelligent at all. I kind of got the impression that maybe he's kind of autistic or something, or kind of slow, because his speech kind of sounds a little slurred to me, but I could be mistaken, but it kind of does. Kind of like he's kind of maybe has learning disabilities or something, but I could be wrong, okay? But, you know, I never knew that people that were, you know, of Spanish and black descent or bloodlines thought so negatively of just American biracials. I never, that thought has never even crossed my mind, because we have so many Blaxicans here in the United States, until we don't really separate them from the rest of us Northwestern Europeans. They just kind of blend in with us, and we don't really focus on them being of Spanish descent and us being of Northwestern descent. But there was another guy that I saw him doing videos. This was a while back, and he actually had problems with black men, though. I can't remember his name. I'm not going to remember his name, but I used to watch some of his videos. And then there was another, I think he was from the Dominican Republic, and I would watch his videos, and he was very, very racist towards black Americans, and he looks very similar to one of my cousins, actually, who has who's basically half Puerto Rican and half his mother is basically my aunt, so his mother is half, she's a biracial, basically, half Northwestern European and half Black Caribbean. So, and then his father is from Puerto Rico, and so that's a very interesting mix. He kind of reminds me of him, but my cousin, of course, doesn't act like that. And I know my cousin kind of wonders, where do you get so much resent from, you know, when it comes to Iberian or mulattoes of Spanish descent, and it's from YouTube. It's from YouTube, because I never knew that they were like this. When I would go and visit my dad down in the Caribbean, because on my father's island, which is the Virgin Islands, there's a lot of Puerto Ricans that stay on the island as well. And when I would go and stay with him and visit him, there was never any beef between the Black Caribbeaners and or the Black Islanders on the island and the Puerto Ricans. And of course, I'm sure there wouldn't have been, because they're coming on to stay on our island. I mean, of course, so that they're not going to bring any resentment with them, I'm sure. But our next door neighbors were Puerto Rican, and I just did not notice any kind of racism with them. The ones that I saw on the island were just Puerto Rican. And there was they didn't have all this resent and hate down there. And so all this hate towards Black people in general is very new to me. I didn't start seeing this really until I got on YouTube, for one, and then I noticed some of it goes on at my job. I've noticed, but these Puerto Ricans that are at my job, it's not all of them, but the majority of them, they don't look nothing like the Puerto Ricans did down on the island that my father grew up on. The Puerto Ricans back during that time frame, which was in the 70s, they had more of an equal amount of all three races: Taino Indian, or Tiano, I think I said it right, Taino Indian, and Spanish and African blood. So it was almost like they had a mixture of all three bloodlines equally, almost. And they were a lot prettier back in those days. Now, the ones that I'm seeing today look completely different than the Puerto Ricans looked back when I was a kid. They were very attractive. At least the ones that I saw, they looked like they had an equal amount of all three bloodlines. Real attractive people, and very easy to get along with, very easygoing. But of course, again, they're not native to our island. So maybe they just stayed in visitor mode, maybe, or maybe they just had a different kind of respect for Caribbeaners or something, because from what I can see online, a lot of these Black Latinos that come from these islands seem to have an awful lot of beef with African Americans. And, I'm kind of curious, how would they perceive me, since my father actually is from the Caribbean? And so, but I was born and raised here in the United States. And so, I noticed that some of them, when they find out that I have blood ties with the Caribbean, it's like suddenly there's this change. I'm talking about the ones that I work with. It's a change in their behavior all of a sudden when they find out that my father is from the Caribbean. All of a sudden, it's kind of like there's this energy that comes in the air, like, okay, so you're more like one of us, or that's kind of, because I had one of them actually come up to me and ask me, I heard your father, or you have family down in the Caribbean, is that true? And it's like, yes. And this girl had been kind of giving me strange looks prior to coming up to me and asking me where my father was from. I guess she had heard it through the grapevine that he was from the Caribbean. And prior to her coming up to me, I noticed she would kind of look over at me and give me them looking down at someone type looks, like she wasn't sure what to think, but a look of more or less dislike. And then, like I said, when she finds out that my dad is from the Caribbean, all of a sudden it's a different energy. Suddenly I'm, a person. Suddenly I'm compatible. Suddenly I'm friendly. Suddenly I get this whole different energy. And so I was completely unaware that people from the islands were like that. I knew that a lot of them were kind of strange about, being very close to other islanders, but I didn't realize it was anything like that. But that's why I'm kind of real curious where this guy is from. So if you can let me know, maybe in my comment box, or somebody out there can let me know, because if I could know where he's from, then I could get a better understanding of his nature, kind of, sort of. But now, as far as the Dominicans, I've only met maybe a few of them in real life. And, this Iberian mulatto guy does have a point where he says that Spaniard people who have Spanish and black blood are very, very attractive people. But then when he starts talking about how they look a whole lot better than Northwestern mulattoes from the United States, because our features are more Anglo-Saxon, that to me is very, very, very racist. And that can actually start a war, really, between Northwestern mulattoes and at least an online war. I don't think it would go very far in real life, because there's Northwestern mulattoes, they're very from what I have seen, they're very, very laid back people. Okay. I mean, it kind of takes a lot to get them going. They're not really, and because we have so many different ties with Northwestern Europe, because Northwestern Europe is kind of big. So just depending on what part of Northwestern Europe that you have blood ties from, we just all kind of blend in together, but we don't really hang as in a clan like the Iberian mulattoes do. They're a lot more clingy with each other. And again, that's the ones from the Caribbean that act like that, not really the Blaxicans. Okay, they're more comfortable around Northwestern European mulattoes because they grew up with us. Okay, and so I'm not so sure they would go tie and tie with Southern mulattoes, I guess, as Iberian mulatto puts it. I wouldn't be so quick to say that they would separate themselves from us, not when a lot of them have grown up with us over here. So they're not hardly going to side with someone from the Caribbean over someone that grew up with them from the same nation. Not hardly. A lot of the Blaxicans, because, of course, I'm part Mexican as well. have a grandfather that was Mexican, and so I have a little bit of Spanish blood in me, not very much at all. I would say probably around maybe 7%. And the rest of the blood that I have from me would be, that's from Mexico, would be more around the 8 to 9% range of Native American, okay, mostly Aztec. But yeah, the Blaxicans out here, they're more or less with us, and they're really cool, laid back people. And so I read some of the comments in your comment section, and I was very proud to see that a lot of the Northwestern mulattoes out there are basically saying that they just see this guy as silly and a joke, and they're not going to read too much into it, and that they're not going to allow his fucked up behavior to come between the rest of us. And that's very mature. I'm very proud of them, of your audience, because when I read those, because at first I was pissed, I was livid when I saw his video, because for someone to sit up here and put all of us in the same category, because I have a lot of Northwestern European blood in me as well, okay, from my father's side, because my father has a lot of Danish blood in him, and British blood as well. So I kind of took that highly offensive, because I don't think I'm bad looking at all. Now my features, to me, as far as I'm concerned, I was a lot more attractive when I was younger. Okay, now I'm in my mid 50s, and so I'm just an average person. I don't look, of course, like I did when I was younger, but growing up over here in the United States with a lot of Northwestern mulattoes, or mulattoes that have that are of Northwestern descent, there's a lot of them that are very pretty people. A lot of them have some very nice features. Okay, and when Iberian Mulatto said that, well, the Iberian mulattoes are a lot more attractive because we have blood ties with the southern part of Europe, and because of that, we're a lot more attractive, because we have Italy and Spain, and we're basically southern Europeans, and we're seen as more attractive. The southern Europeans are seen as a lot more attractive than Northwestern Europeans. Now, let me just comment on that. What I would like to say is that, in a way, I can kind of understand what he's talking about, because there are a lot of Northwestern British men that are not that attractive, okay? But as far as saying that they're butt ugly, and that anybody that descends from them is also along the same lines, that's not true at all. Okay, that is not true. It depends on what part of Northwestern Europe you get your bloodlines from. Okay, because the Britain, some of Britain does have some very attractive mulattoes, and then some of them are just average, everyday looking people, just like Iberian mulatto is. I looked at him. He doesn't look to me like your average, typical person that's mixed with black and Spanish bloodlines. he doesn't really have that look. You know, if I just saw him walking towards me, walking into a building, and let's just say he came and sat down in front of me, and I'm sitting up here looking at him, getting a very good look. To me, he looks like you're an average day, everyday looking black man. He's got, his lips are they're a lot bigger than mine. I know that. His nose is really not that European at all. His face, the shape of his face, his bone structure looks not African American. It just looks definitely like he's got some Bantu African in him. Okay, and his hair texture, it looks like he's got 4C hair from what I can see. So to me, he looks like your average day, everyday looking black American with maybe 15% European blood ties. That's what he looks like to me. Just looking at him from that interview that Ricardo did with him, I couldn't tell that he was mixed at all. I have, my mother is half Mexican and black, and so I know full well what Blaxicans look like. And to me, he does not look mixed race to me. He just doesn't. His hair is nappy. It looks like 4C hair. His teeth are very large, like a lot of black men sometimes have those very large teeth. His lips are big. He's got Negroid features, pure Negroid features. And so to me, he does not look like your average typical Dominican at all. At all. I've seen, and that's just saying if he's from the Dominican Republic, because that's what I'm saying. To me, he doesn't look like he looks like your average day African American looking type of guy, which would be an unattractive black man. I mean, most black American men got Iberian mulatto beat out. Okay, I could show you black guys that are non-mixed outside of the tribe of Judah. They're not any more mixed than your average everyday African American that can make circles around him with no Spanish blood. Okay, then we have the Northwestern mulattoes that look just like that actor that played on that sitcom. What's it called? I'm not going to remember the name, so I'll just have to give his name in a later video. But there's green-eyed black men here in the United States that have green eyes that are of Northwestern descent. Okay, we're talking a great-grandmother or grandmother in the closet from Western Europe. Okay, they look a lot more mixed than this guy does, and a whole lot better looking. I mean, Ice-T looks more mixed. Ice-T, who obviously has blood ties with Northwestern Europe, okay, and his eyes are also green. He looks to me a lot more mixed than this guy does, and a whole lot better looking. So when it comes to Spanish people that have blood ties with Spain, some of them are attractive. Some of them, yes, some of them are. But then again, we have a lot of mulattoes over here that are also very attractive. Okay, Vanessa Williams, who was the first Miss Black America, to me, she is one of the most beautiful women that has blue eyes that I've ever seen. especially in her younger days. She looks a lot like I used to back when I was, young. I looked a lot similar to her. And to me, but Vanessa Williams, of course, has me beat out, but I did favor her, and I used to be told that a lot back in my teenage years, 17, 18, 19, right around those years. And I was trying to look like her because that's right around the time when she came out as Miss America. And so I went and got my hair highlighted golden blonde, and after I did that, a lot of people, would tell me that I looked a lot like her. And I mean, a lot of people used to tell me that. That was back then. Of course, I don't look anything like her now, but to me, Vanessa Williams was one of the most prettiest green-eyed, light-skinned black females I've ever seen. And of course, looking at her, full well she has blood ties with Northwestern Europe. I'm guessing a grandmother or a great-grandmother, okay? Because she gave her ancestry results some time ago, and it was very interesting. In fact, I'm more mixed than her, and she looks more mixed than me. Real beautiful woman. And then Dorothy Dandridge is another black woman that's of Northwestern descent. Also one of the most beautiful black women I've ever seen that has dark eyes. I think her eyes might have been onyx black, and then she's got these real beautiful features. Okay, Lena Horne, I think she's another one that is of Northwestern descent. I'm pretty sure of it. Another real beautiful mulatto woman. Okay, so we have tons of stars right over here in the United States of Northwestern descent. Holly Berry is another one. Not too many people had her beat out. She was the Dorothy Dandridge of my generation, which is Generation X, okay? Not too many people could beat Holly Berry out. And she is also of Northwestern descent. Her mother is half English or British or something like that. And her mother is American, white American, but she descends, of course, from Europe. So this guy is just kind of he's very opinionated. I think that I don't know if he might be upset with black mixed race females from the United States because maybe they just didn't give him the time of day. And of course, we could look at him and see why. But I just kind of feel like there's good looking people in both, races of people. You have, the United States does not have near as many stars that descend from Spain, because the United States they're not really, I don't know if they're just not interested in them or if they just didn't see any talent. I don't know, but they tend to favor black Americans that have more heritage from Northwestern Europe. I've noticed that over mulattoes that have Spaniard blood within them. Not too many stars in Hollywood, at least here in the United States, descend from Spain. Okay, so that ought to tell you something right there. They might be very nice looking people, but the United States talent agencies are just not interested. I don't really see a whole lot of runway models of Spanish and black descent. There are probably some, but I just don't see a lot. I see more girls from Eastern Africa that Europe seems to take more of an interest in over girls of Iberian and black descent. For some reason, the United States is just not really interested in girls of Spanish descent that are part black. They're just not as far as Hollywood goes, or the music industry. Cardi B is the only one that made it as far as she did, and that's because the black community helped her get to where she is. And the music industry pretty much told them to put her there, because there are so many black female rappers that can outdo Cardi B. It's unbelievable. I've heard girls right from my own neighborhood that can out-rap her. Okay, and I just think Cardi B made it big because it was time for someone of her descent to make it in the music industry. And when they finally found the one that they wanted, they blew her up because it was time. Okay, they were looking for a rapper from the Dominican Republic or Panama or the Puerto Rico, or and of course they're not really looking to Mexico for anything. So, girls with Iberian descent, some of them I think are models. They're more, I think some of them I have seen as like makeup models, some of them, but they've never made it onto the Ebony magazine. They've never made it. I've seen some make it into Jet, and that's just the photo of the month. That's it. But other than that, as far as Hollywood goes, other than like Rosie Perez and a few other names, let's see, Rosie Perez and God, there's a handful of them. I can't think of their names right now. But it's like a handful of them. It's a handful that are of Iberian and black descent. We have a whole lot more movie stars and singers and just whatever from that are of Northwestern descent. Okay. So, I don't know. Let's see, we have Tyra Banks, Rihanna. I mean, and Tyra is not really of Northwestern descent as far as I know, unless she has it hidden somewhere in her closet. But she's just a very nice looking black female that has very pretty eyes. Okay. But I'm not really sure she has any mixture in her, and if she does, it might go way back to the slavery days. It could be that she does maybe have a great grandmother or a great grandmother, but she's not telling it. Yeah, she's not telling it. She's keeping, for some reason, she's not disclosing her ancestry ties. So, anyway, I hope I didn't offend anyone. I really don't want this to divide us, because there are some people on Facebook that are of Spanish and black descent that I follow, that I am a big admirer of. Some of them are pretty, some are just your average day every looking people. But when it comes down to it, I really am in more favor of girls from my own country, and that's normal. That's just normal. But I don't think any less of girls of Iberian descent. I'm not going to read too far into this because it is silly. And mulattoes are mulattoes. It really shouldn't matter how much European you have in you, what part of Europe. I mean, there's Eastern Europe too, and there's North Europe too as well. So it's just silly. But let me just say this. When we talk about Northwestern guys, okay, maybe Iberian mulatto thinks that European guys are butt ugly because he's looking at he's talking about a lot of guys here in the United States, okay. And I think the reason why he said a lot of them are butt ugly, the ones that descend from Northwestern Europe, is because a lot of guys over here don't really take care of themselves. They don't. And I don't know if Iberian mulatto has been to Northwestern Europe. Probably not. He's probably never been to England. Okay. He's never probably been nowhere over there, not to Ireland or Denmark or Norway or any of those countries. And so he has not really seen the better part of Europe, okay? Because guys from Denmark, guys from Holland, guys from Belgium, guys from Norway, okay? Those are some very nice looking white guys. We're talking Scandinavian, blonde hair, blue-eyed type features, tall, very chiseled bone structure in the face, 360 degree angle. We're talking very, very handsome men. Okay, not all, but there are some of them that these guys over here in America, you would never know that they descend from them. Okay. England is very simple, just like the United States. Those men over there, some of them are handsome. It just depends on where you go. If you're going to Windsor or something like that, those guys tend to be a little more attractive. Okay. But if we're talking just average, everyday looking Brad, from here in the United States, then Iberian mulatto might have he might be somewhat true in what he says, because again, a lot of guys over here, they're just kind of average looking. I wouldn't really necessarily call them ugly, but ugly. I mean, they're just, I wouldn't say they're butt ugly, but they're rather dull looking. A lot of them are. They're very dull looking. Okay, because they won't take the time out to style their hair. They're not as fashionable as guys from Europe. Now, if anybody was to go over to, Britain and go in certain parts of Britain, you will see that the guys out there, they dress a lot better. We're talking like Candace Owens' husband. We're talking guys that look like that. Okay, he's handsome. I don't care what anybody says. And so is Prince William when he was younger, when he had all his hair. Prince William is very handsome. Okay, and when we're talking guys that look like that, with a head full of hair, that they know how to dress. There's a lot of, I wouldn't say a lot, but there's a few, okay, over in Windsor and England and those type places, that some of them got that Prince William look to them, okay, that very expensive Oxford looking Vanderbilt type, look to them, okay. They're very expensive looking, very high-end type men, and they are handsome. Okay, but we're talking, but when we get over here to the United States, some of them do look rather plain looking because they don't watch their weight. A lot of them won't. Okay, they don't really spend a whole lot of time with fashion. They don't style their hair. They're just baseball caps, jeans, and t-shirts looking type of guys. Okay, and that's the culture over here. It's always been the culture over here. But guys over in Europe, some of them take a whole lot more attention and care. They put more care and concern into their appearance. And so they look a whole lot better than your average everyday Brad over here in the United States. Okay, so when we're talking Norway and Denmark, when we're talking about those type white guys, when if you take an African and mix them with some of those Nordics, that's when you have very attractive mulatto kids. Because it has a lot to do with features, not really where you're from. It has a lot to do with like your features, and who you breed with. I mean, because looking at Iberian mulatto, to me, I can't really see him having kids that are all up there like he thinks he is. I mean, to hear him sit up here and talk about how bad he thinks a lot of mulattoes over here in the United States look, and then for me to be looking at this guy and listening to him, and he's kind of dragging in his speech. He acts kind of, I don't know, autistic or something. I don't know. He just, to me, I just kind of feel like I think he might have not have gotten a whole lot of attention. Maybe he's an outcast. Maybe he just couldn't get some of these Northwestern mulatto girls over here. I don't know what the situation is, but he just seems to have a very hateful, rude, arrogant type of nature about him. And that same nature I see in some mestizos that are also descents of Spain. Okay. To me, and it's not all, because there are some mestizos that I get along with very well, and then there's others I can't stand for the life of me. I cannot even stand to look at them because the arrogance, I can't. It just gets to me. Okay, so, but then there's others that are real cool and laid back, and those, the ones that I typically get along with are typically from my generation. Because I don't know what it is about the mestizos in this day and age, but the millennials, they get on my nerves, and I'm not talking about all of them, but a large portion of them. I don't really click with them like that, and because they seem just to me to be kind of arrogant and a smart ass and very spicy, kind of real argumentative and like smart aleck, And see, the Mexican girls from my generation, because we didn't call them mestizos, we called them Chicanos back then. They were cool, a lot of them. They were not racist. They were a whole different type of people than these millennials and these Generation Zers. They are a whole different seed. Yeah, you had some that were racist, but they kept that shit very well hidden. It was hard to see it. It's not out in the open like what you're seeing today. So I don't know how or what changed a lot of these younger people, but it seems to be a lot of them seem to be very, whether they're black or Mexican or biracial, it just seems to me like a lot of them seem to be very quick-tempered, very, opinionated, smart aleck type people. And I tend to keep my distance from a lot of them because I want to stay out of prison. I don't want to be going to prison, So I just, try hard to keep my distance from a lot of them because I don't want to end up going off on one of them and then end up having to go to prison. So I usually tend to hang around people from my own generation because we have an understanding where a lot of us, the Chicanos back in the day did not act the way these girls do today. A lot of them stuck with their own men. A lot of them did. You don't see a lot of them. You might see like maybe one or two dating black guys. It was every once in a blue moon. It's not every other one like what you see today. Those girls back in my day loved their men. They wouldn't look away from their men for nothing. Okay? They stuck with their men. They were faithful back in the 80s and the 90s. I don't know what happened to a lot of Latino girls, why they're so into all these black men now and over their own men. And it's not all of them, but it is about 50% of them. At least out here where I'm at, you see it a lot. But back in the day, they stuck with their own. So I don't know what changed. I don't know what happened. I think it might have a lot to do with gangs, maybe. Back in the day, I don't think the gangs were as involved with the cartels like they are today. Maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know. Or I don't think we had near as many immigrants either over here. And we just got along a lot better back in the 80s and the 90s, They would listen to African American music, but you didn't see them out here trying to get with all these black men like they are today and trying to dress like black women and trying to talk like us and all. No, you didn't see none of that shit back in Generation X's days. They were proud to be who they were. Okay. Yeah, some of them might, act with an attitude, but it was just a part of the culture. It wasn't, you know, you didn't see them intentionally trying to start beef with black people like what you're seeing online today. We just did not have all this happening back in those days. Mexicans stuck with Mexicans, blacks stuck with blacks. Okay, we always had a problem with Miss Ann coming over into our communities, hanging all over black men. That has been a problem since the slaves were freed. So that problem has never really went away, but this thing with Latino girls going for black men, this is all recent. This is all, and I think it's a trend. I really do, and I think it's coming to an end here pretty quickly. I think within 5 to 7 more years, you're not going to see a whole lot of that. I don't think so. You're not going to see a whole lot of that because there's going to be a lot of changes, I think, that's about to take place. And I think that eventually the Mexicans will probably do a cleansing with their community, meaning that they're probably going to eventually push out all these mixed race couples eventually. And I don't know where they're going to go because they're not going to be able to come live in the black neighborhoods. So I don't know where they're going to go. That's going to be real interesting. Because eventually I think it's going to come to that where, because they've been known to do that, they will ethnically cleanse their community during specific movements, during certain when there's certain revolutions that go on within their community. And from what I hear, they might be doing something like that. And I don't know where they're going to go because they're not coming over to the black community. So that's going to be interesting. But anyway, let me go ahead and close this. I'm anxious to see what your next video has in it. But I feel sorry for this guy that he has so much hate in his heart towards Northwestern mulattoes. I guess we're called Anglo-Saxons because, again, I guess he's trying to split up the northern mulattoes from the southern mulattoes. That's not going to work. That ain't going to work because the Mexicans are not going to take a whole lot of mulattoes in their community. Once they get things up and moving, once they get their revolution going, and there's a lot of these young Latinos that don't really get along with blacks, and I think those are a lot of the immigrants that came over here later. Eventually, I think there's going to be some type of movement. So it's going to be very interesting to see where Iberian mulatto goes because they're not going to accept him in the Latin community. He's going to be in for a very rude awakening because as black as he looks, he doesn't even look mixed to me. I have a lot of black and Mexican in my family. Okay. And I have a lot of black and Northwestern blood ties in my family as well. The black and Mexican is on my mother's side, and the black and the Northwestern blood ties are on my father's side. Okay. So, as a person who has a lot of black and Mexican bloodlines within their family, he doesn't really look like one of us at all. He looks to me, like I said, more black American. So it's going to be very interesting to see what community is going to accept him in, because he's been all over YouTube letting people know he's not down with us Anglo-Saxon mulattoes. And so I don't know where he thinks he's going to go, because, as I have stated, the Blaxicans mix in with us because they're basically considered more like Native American and black, really, kind of, sort of. And they blend right in with the rest of us Anglo-Saxon, Northwestern European mulattoes. So that's going to be interesting. But anyways, let me end it here. I didn't really mean for the video to be this long. I'm just putting all this information out there. But let me go ahead and watch your next video. I did subscribe to your channel. I am very excited that you have a channel. I'm very interested in hearing what you have to say. As you said, you are of Nigerian and German descent, and so that's perfect, because I am also of Nigerian and Northwestern descent. So it's good to see a leader actually taking the lead in our community. I am also one of the leaders of the mulatto community online here. Okay, so I haven't met you, but there are a lot of other mulattoes out there that are familiar with me. Some of them haven't heard of me. And then there's a handful of them out there that used to listen to some of my older videos until I started talking about other subjects, and then they kind of excuse me, they kind of left a little bit, but maybe I can draw some of them back in. So again, once again, I'm grateful to be a part of this community. I'm glad to see it growing. I'm one of the old school leaders that got involved with some of the Facebook groups on Facebook. So I'm widely well known in that aspect. And then there's, again, people on YouTube. There's a large amount of them that hasn't heard of me, because I haven't been doing videos for a very long time. And then there's a handful out there that know exactly who I am. So it's great to have you in the community, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of your videos. And after listening to that video that you did, it made me feel like we have an actual community going. And there was also the Golden Sphere. Whatever happened to him? Because I would watch a lot of his videos, and the Golden Sphere, has anyone heard about what's going on with them, with him lately? Because he just kind of, I would listen to his videos faithfully, and he just kind of vanished. He doesn't seem to do a whole lot of videos anymore. So if someone can let me know if he has changed his username, just go ahead and put that down in the comment section for me. Okay, and I'll get with you guys later. And it was good hearing from the mulatto community out there. And with that being said, I will end this video here, and I'm looking forward to watching his other video. And you guys have a nice night. Thanks so much for listening.